Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Peach.
Hello.
How you doing, brother?
Man, I am so good. So pumped to be here. I'm filled up with all the good stuff today. I'm ready to bring it.
Right on, right on. So what are we talking about today?
All right, dude. So we are going to talk about how to apologize, how to say I'm sorry without giving up the farm, without really losing your balls.
Okay, I get it. This is a problem a lot of guys talk about is giving up their power, right? We talked about this in a previous episode with one of our coaches, Mark, who runs the Activation Method. It's our flagship program for guys that are newer to what the Powerful Man does. We did a podcast on, how to regain your power. But this is a little different, right? Because we're talking about basically saying you're sorry without groveling and giving everything away.
That's right. And I don't know about, for our guys, but for me, used to, when I came with an apology, like it was bells and whistles, right? Like it was like the genie walking in with Aladdin to see the Sultan, right? Like it is, baby, I am so sorry. Like just everything, everything's on the table. Whatever I need to do to get you to forgive me, I'm going to do it. I love you so much. And I could even feel her tension with this apology, right? But I just like, I've got to go full, and she has to know how sorry I am. And ultimately, it always seemed to fall flat of the expectation I had made in my head of how this was going to
go. We all know how that goes. And most of us guys fall into this, right? I used to too. And it's almost like a dog tucking its tail between its legs, coming back and saying, please forgive me, take me back. And, I've definitely done things in my past where I've had to say, please take me back because, I'll never do that again, type situation. So there's definitely a great way of doing this, right? And a lot of the guys, us as men, we don't get taught these skills. I know we talk about it in the brotherhood and we talk about it through the movement, but as men growing up, we're not taught how to do this. You're taught just to, if you screw up, you come home with flowers, a bottle of wine. In reality, you start cleaning the house, you start, you washing her car, and your wife is more and more distant and looking at you like, what a chump.
Yeah,
I married a pussy.
That's right. That's right. That's right. This is not the man that I married.
Yep.
Right. Like, and what she's saying, guys, is I don't want that.
Yes.
Like, and that can be really hard to hear, because what you're trying to do, right, is to apologize to make her want you again. When in all reality, just because she's mad at you doesn't mean she doesn't want you. Ultimately, she can want you more when she's mad at you. That's fun.
Yep.
But when you come off as a pussy, right, that is like, detract, get away. That does not feel comfortable. That's not what I want. And exactly, I was raised that you are tough and you are strong, and you don't apologize unless you've really done something wrong. And then you do everything to make sure that your apology is essentially accepted. But what I found for me was that there was no communication as to, how did we get here? What does your side of the street look like? What does my side of the street look like? I have feelings too. This is what I felt. This is why I did this. Let me try to help you understand where I was coming from. I fully own my 50%. I totally screwed my 50% up. I apologize. I want you to understand that this is what I saw. This is why I did this. And how do we now make a path forward? Or even better, this is how we're going to make a path forward from here.
Yeah, I love it. And I have a slightly different formula that I've learned over the years.
Ooh,
And and mostly because I've screwed up more than most men.
Well, that's what it is. You're highly educated in this area, so it's
Yeah,
great.
I am experienced, man. When I do business consulting, people say, "Well, how have you gotten such big clients for business consulting?" I said, "Well, because I've made every mistake at least twice. I'm just not as smart as most people." Um, so I see them coming at this point. So before we go into this, methodology, there's also another way, and this is the way I used to do it, Ryan. Is I would screw up, apologize, the apology wasn't accepted, and I would basically say "f you," and I'd push away 10 times as hard, and I'd walk away. Right. Well, if you're
Yep.
not going to forgive me, then I'm going to get mad at you. Right. That's a great recipe.
It always works exactly as it should.
Yeah. Well, then there's no makeup sex. Right.
Right.
In that sense. It's a horrible way of doing it. That was my pattern, right? Oh, you're gonna get mad at me. Well, I'm mad at you for being mad at me, and I'm gonna get madder, and I'm gonna show you.
I apologized, so
Yeah, yep. And you should come running after me. Was kind of my story because I'm such a catch, right? Anyway, there is definitely a better methodology to this, in my opinion, right? Of course, this is just my opinion. What works for you guys, mileage may vary, as they say, with doing it. So with an apology, the key that I found is it starts with, and you guys hear me talk about this in communication a lot, is validation, right? Right. First, seek to understand before you seek to be understood. And this is where I would flip what you were saying around just a little bit. I love what you were doing. But the first thing I'd want to find out is, why was Allie, or in your case, Allie, why was she upset? Right? What is it she did, and validate it. Like, hey, look, I can totally, and I'll use my wife because it won't be as weird, who's Erin. And I just say, look, Erin, I realized that I was out all night last night drinking with the guys, and I was supposed to be home and I didn't. I can understand that might be really frustrating. And you were expecting me home, and it might have worried you. And I totally get it. So something along those lines. I'm validating the possibility of her emotions and her feelings. I'm putting myself in her shoes for just a little bit, right? And the responsibility of what my actions could have caused with her feelings. Now, here's a key, guys. Did I once apologize for what I did? No, not at all. Now, if I felt I did something wrong, I would say, I'm sorry for going out so late. It wasn't originally my intent, but my intent also wasn't to hurt your feelings either. I could have called, and that next time I'm definitely going to take that into consideration. And then I would go through your methodology of, this is what was happening for me, right? But the key here, and it's a longer drawn out process, and I'm happy to go into the actual formula, but the key here is to start off with validation, right? Validating how the other person could be feeling about the upset, the task, cheating, drinking too much. I'm trying to think of common ones. Being out late, not supporting the kids, losing a job, working too much. There's a million of them that us guys do. And so the key here is the validation, right? So maybe it's even maybe you're just waking up. Maybe you're just coming alive and realizing, shit, I've been a dick for 10 years. Or I've just been a dud on the couch watching TV, drinking beer, eating pretzels. And now I'm realizing I'm 30 pounds overweight. I've stopped dating my wife. I'm not the man that I was. And you're just waking up.
yeah,
Here's what you could do. Come to your wife at that point and say, hey, look, babe, I'm sorry that, what I've been doing and being disconnected, I bet that makes you feel alone. And it really hurts me to see that and see the actions I've caused. And I apologize for not waking up sooner, but I'm here for you. And I want to let you know that these things are going to change, and going through that way. I'm not giving up the farm, we talked about, or anything else. I'm validating her so she seems heard. She feels heard, excuse me, and seen. And what this does, and Ryan, you can jump in any time, but what this does is it lowers their defenses, right? I've
yeah,
taken away her sword, so to speak, and she's put it down. She's put down her shield because she's saying, oh crap, he really sees me. And now I can talk about my why I did this. Because without
yeah.
that, she doesn't care. Right?
Oh,
You're not
that's right.
listening to me. I don't feel heard, et cetera, et cetera. I don't care why you did it. I don't care what happened. Oh, yeah, you were stuck and, whatever. So you make her feel validated, and then you can implant your reasonings of why. And one thing I love that you said is, how can we move forward together?
Yeah,
And
that was something that became really important for me because you're exactly right. I would definitely get hurt when I didn't get the response
oh yeah.
that I. And one of the big things that came up for me when I went through the activation method was that really I thought I was making my life about everybody else when really I was making almost everything about me, right? You know, how did I feel and what I was going through and the response that I wanted to get to validate my feelings. And when I was able to, like you said, just I totally understand where you're coming from. I get that you might be feeling like this. Then being able to say, this is why I did it. Not saying that it's right, not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying this is why I did what I did. And I want to, because essentially what you're saying is there's this thing that's over here, right? We talked about this a lot. I've heard you, Mr. Holt, explain this to me beautifully one time because you're really smart. And it was in an argument, there's three people, right? There's three things. It's you, the person you're arguing with, and the problem. And a lot of times what will happen in an argument is the people will be busy arguing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Whereas the third part in that argument is just sitting over here not being dealt with, often getting bigger and bigger and bigger because you're not addressing the problem. And so essentially what you're doing is cool, let's deal with us. You're here, I was here. Okay, we feel like we're on the same page. Cool. Let's face the problem and let's deal with the problem together.
Yep. And so I love that. And here I'm going to give you a ninja trick. It's an NLP tactic that's used in negotiations. I use pickup artists will use this as well at some points. So and guys, I got a green screen on because I'm doing construction in my house. And look, Arthur commented, it looked like I'm in a ship for anybody watching this. So I just threw this on. But one thing you can do in that instance, Ryan, is you can talk about the problem, look down at the ground when you talk about the problem, step to the side. If you guys can picture this, if I'm between my wife, I'm looking right between us a little bit more towards me, then I can pivot, step out of where I'm standing and look back at that problem and disassociate it from me. I've now disassociated Doug from the problem, right? Look at that. Oh, and I can look down and talk about the problem in the third person. And there's a cognitive disassociation. It's a business tactic. It's an NLP tactic, neuro linguistic programming. But now I can disassociate myself from that previous guy that screwed up. Now I can talk about the problem and the past Doug in a way to do it. Now, it gets more intricate than that. You need a lot of practice to really be able to pull that off. But it's kind of a ninja trick to take it to the next level. But you still got to validate. You still got to come together and you still got to work on, hey, how can we move together? It's kind of the idea. If you listen to one of the previous podcasts, I told my wife, hey, I'm going to Alaska in this venture van. I got a seat for you. If you want, hop in. I'd love for you to be the co-pilot, but I'm going, right?
Yep.
So it's up to you. So it's the same thing. How can we move forward? Like, we are going to move forward. I screwed up. I apologize. I'm validating you, but we're going to move forward. We're going to persist as a couple. How are we going to do this? Let's decide together.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that what you just touched on is really, really important. And I was having a conversations with Ben, one of the new guys on the team. He's young and he's hungry and he's just, wanting to grab every piece of information that he can. And we were talking about relationships, and he was asking me about how do how do you wake up for success, right? So how do you be ready to crush it every day? And I was like, oh, that's simple. I make sure that I follow my nighttime routine. She's
Yep.
like, what do you mean? I was just like, my day starts the night before. If I'm not in bed by 10 and and have taken care of myself, then I'm not up at 6 to do my morning routine, which then throws my day off. And then it starts a domino effect. And so, guys, when when it comes to an argument, especially if you know it's coming, but really this is for your everyday life, because we're all going to have conflict every single day. We're business owners, we're men, we have kids, you're going to have conflict. You have to be in a place where you are loving and respecting yourself long before you step into that conflict. Because if not, if you're in a place where you don't have a good self image, you're always going to be looking for validation from your wife, your kids, your employees. You want them to like you because them liking you validates you as a person. Whereas when you have that confidence in yourself, where you're taking care of yourself, doing your morning routines and going to the gym, going to Alaska when you say you're going to go to Alaska, when you're doing those things and conflict comes up, just like you said, the conflict is not you. The conflict isn't Doug Holt. The conflict is over here. And Doug Holt, who is cool and awesome and a great person, is working to solve this problem. It's a huge difference.
A huge difference in there. Um, when you think about it, and when you think about apologizing, right, the topic here, and not losing the farm guys, there's also there's a sense of neediness, right, that comes with that. We've talked about before. What you want to do is come with this with a how can we solve this problem. So again, I'm going to repeat the process here. And what works for me is come in, validate, right? First, take full responsibility and validate how the other person could feel, right? Get in their shoes a little bit. The key word is I imagine, right? I'd imagine it would be scary being home alone, not knowing where I am, right? Or I imagine you may think I'm with another woman or whatever else it could be, which would make me feel this way. And really get into her feelings and ask her, right? You got to be open. She may come at you, but if you're steadfast in who you are, and go, look, I really apologize for the way that this made you feel. I don't say that, but get into specifics and really have a sincere apology. You can get away, not get away, but there's a lot of things that she'll forgive you for when you do it that way. However, if you come back begging, tail between your legs, she's going to knock you down time and time again.
That's right. That's right. And that's, I mean, firsthand experience, guys. Lived it, did it, got the t-shirt, all of that. I I was definitely the guy walking in with the tail between his legs. And like we talked about earlier, that is not what she wants. That is not sexy to her. That does not turn her on, that you are being so apologizing so much. She wants to know that her man loves her, values her, and wants to work on this with her. She doesn't want her boy to come in and beg for forgiveness. That is like, if I've talked with a lot of guys, and they all talk about, I want once in my life to have that movie scene where we're arguing and we're fighting and then it just turns into sex. Right? I'm like, I get it. It's awesome. You can't come at it from a needy perspective. You can't beg for that, just like you can't beg for sex. It's never going to work. So, guys, added incentive. There's a higher probability for you to get sex at the end of this argument if you start putting this technique to work for you.
100%, man. It's a much better outcome than the other. I can tell you that right away. So, Ryan, let's wrap this up a little bit and let's give the guys, a couple action points, as I always like to do, that they can apply to their life right away.
Okay. So, first point for me is again, I feel like I'm always going to give the same action point because it's so important, is make sure that you're in a good place with yourself. So if you're not, everything else will trickle down. So guys, one action step right now today, if you don't have a morning routine or an evening routine, write out what that is. Do you journal? Do you take a jog? Do you take a walk? Do you XYZ? Whatever that is, put that in place and start doing it.
I'll add on to that, guys. If you want, go over to our free Facebook community, the Powerful Man Facebook community. Go in there and say, I want the Alpha Rise and Shine. The Alpha Rise and Shine is a process that we teach. We give it away for free. We're happy to. We're just here to help you guys. It's a movement of men. Go over there, just because I can't have you comment right now on this, but go over to the Facebook group and just say, Alpha, I want the Alpha Rise and Shine. Can I have it, please? Something simple as that. And we'll make sure somebody on the team gets it to you.
That's right. Yep. If you tag me in it, I will send it to you straight away. So would love that. That's absolutely, it is gold, guys. I've had a routine for a while. When I got the Alpha Rise and Shine, like fire coming out of my fingertips. It's so good and simple, because we need simple as men. We need we need a roadmap. This is a roadmap to a great morning.
Fantastic. One I'll lead in here with you guys, obviously taking action, but is learn how to validate. We had a conversation in the Brotherhood about this, an extensive one. And how do you properly validate somebody? And you can really do it. And I imagine, not validating, it's going to feel really tough to do so, or it's going to feel really cumbersome. Like, oh, how do I validate? I imagine that would feel awkward, right? But right there, I just validated you, the listener. So that's the key, is learning how to do it well and practicing validation. It works so well in business. People don't see it coming. It's not a sneaky tactic, because if you do it with integrity, you're just really building the other person up. But practice validation before you need it. And that way, when you do have to take that tool out of your toolbox, you actually have it ready at hand and you're a master at it. And the validation is gonna get you so far, and it's definitely gonna lead to the bedroom.
That's right. And I think, just like you said, practice, guys. Oftentimes we're very good about knowing when we might be in trouble.
Yeah.
Probably done something that is going to tip the scales in a bad direction. So guys, in the car on the way home, I imagine, right, honey, I imagine you feel like this, all right? And really try to put yourself in her shoes. You've got 10, 15 minutes on the drive home. That way, when you walk in, you now are leading that conversation, rather than coming in begging and pleading and putting her in the leadership role of deciding whether she has to forgive you or not. You're taking the leadership role and saying, listen, I totally understand. I imagine you felt like this.
Yep. So Ryan, I really appreciate you being here, and I imagine you taking this time out on Friday can be difficult for you and your family. So the stress, I greatly appreciate you, man. You're always bringing knowledge here to the guys, the things you do. Guys, if you hadn't the opportunity to talk to Ryan, he is one of the guys that jumps on and does enrollment. He does operations for the movement. He helps out with the guys in the Brotherhood and everybody else. So you can find him in the Facebook group. He's very active in there. Once again, Ryan Peach, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's my absolute pleasure. I love this. I love supporting these men, and just super honored to be here.
Awesome. And guys, if you're interested in a free training, just head over to thepowerfulman.com/bonus, and you can pick one up there. Until then, we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.